My name is Landon Hall, and I'm a musician, songwriter, and entrepreneur based in Nashville, Tennessee. First of all, I'd like to thank Lisbon High School and Mary Coleman for thinking of me. I'm honored to do this video for you all and would love to help out any way I can. Alright, so the first question is, did you follow your dream? Yes. Where did it take you? It took me to Nashville, Los Angeles, and lots of major cities around the US from playing live shows. What was the path that brought you to where you are today? Well, it's been a crazy path. I went to 3 different high schools in 3 different states. Then I went to Lisbon High School my junior year. Then for my senior year, I went to a small school in Missouri. I played football and basketball there and then graduated in 2010. I went to a college for a semester. Then after that, I started working at a local golf course in Missouri. In 2011, I became the manager of that country club and did that for about a year. In 2012, I was an account manager for Coca-Cola. During this time, I'd always played in local bands with my friends. In 2013, I started a drumstick company called Diamond Star. You can check it out at diamondstar.com. I designed several different types of drumsticks using premium American hickory wood where the shock dies out. That's why I named it Diamond Star with an E. I would always visit Nashville on the weekends, and I would even use my vacation days to visit there. I networked every time I went to Nashville, and I met a rock band there that needed a drummer. As things got busy playing a lot of shows with that band, I quit Coca-Cola and officially made the move to Nashville in spring 2015. After getting exposure with that band, Desmond Child's assistant contacted me about playing drums in a music video for a pop rock band that he was forming. At the time, I didn't even know who Desmond Child was. For those that don't know, Desmond Child has written and produced for lots of big artists, including Bon Jovi. He wrote Living on a Prayer, You Give Love a Bad Name. He's worked with Kiss, Aerosmith. He's worked with Katy Perry. He wrote and produced Livin' La Vida Loca. And his most current song that he wrote is Kings and Queens by Ava Max. So I gave it a shot back in 2015, and I auditioned for that band he was forming and got the role playing drums. It later led to playing more live shows and music videos. Desmond then moved the band members and I out to Los Angeles for a couple years. He was able to get us featured on a Nickelodeon show, along with sharing the stage with lots of big acts, including Bon Jovi. I relocated back to Nashville, where Desmond is based, and continued to work with him on several projects. During this time, my drumstick company, Diamond Star, began to grow, and I would attend trade shows and expos for my stick company. I decided to start my own drum trade show event in Nashville, Tennessee, called the Music City Drum Show. You can check it out at musiccitydrumshow.com. It's a once-a-year drum trade show with all kinds of big-name drum brands to small independent companies. As of today, I am drumming as much as I can. I still work with Desmond Child. I'm also busy songwriting, also running my drumstick company, and the Music City Drum Show event. What made you decide to do what you're doing now? I was always fascinated with drums at a young age. I got my first set of drums at the age of 9. I have a passion for drums and drumsticks and worked hard to do what I could to follow my passion. What was most surprising or challenging when you first entered the workforce? The most challenging thing for me was always being told no, a lot. Working as an account manager for Coca-Cola, I would have to get as many Coca-Cola displays in stores like Walmart, and it wasn't easy getting a yes with the 3 Walmarts that I worked with. It made me stronger, and it helped me develop a mindset to never give up. And that's the same mentality that I've kept with everyday life situations. Is there any advice you wish someone had given you when you were in high school? Well, the advice that was given to me was to follow your dreams, but also have a backup plan. I would like to encourage students to chase after their passions and dreams. Go work in an industry that you are most passionate about and work your way up. For example, if you want to start your own ice cream shop or brand, start small and get a job at a local ice cream shop. Learn the ropes, or do whatever you can that gets you close in that industry and work your way up. I know this may sound cliche, but I would also like to encourage students to never give up. You don't have to have it all figured out in your 20s or even your 30s. Just do what you can, pray about it, always keep God first, and He will direct your path. I think it's cool how even Ray Kroc found his niche at the age of 52 with McDonald's. Sam Walton opened his first Walmart at the age of 44. That just goes to show to never give up, and it doesn't matter how old you are. Maybe the best thing you'll ever do, you haven't even thought of yet. Thank you again, Lisbon High School and Mary Coleman, for this opportunity. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. My website is landonhall.com. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Hey Lisbon Regional, my name is Katie Jo Younkins and I'm a graduate of the class of 2007. I am filming this video for your virtual career fair from Arlington, Virginia. I live in Virginia as I work for the U.S. government, the Department of State in Washington, D.C. I'm a program analyst in the Bureau of Medical Services, and my current project is helping get the COVID-19 vaccine out to all of the embassies abroad. After I graduated from Lisbon in 2007, I moved to New York City, where I attended Wagner College. I did my Bachelor's of Arts degree in International Affairs with a minor in history. While I was at Wagner, I studied abroad in Jerusalem, Israel for 5 months while I continued my international affairs studies. While at Wagner, I worked for the dean's office and I also waitressed part-time to help pay some of my bills as scholarships didn't cover all of my tuition for Wagner. I was offered a position in the dean's office to work as a graduate assistant, and I stayed at Wagner for 2 more years and did my Master's of Business Administration in International Business. After I received my MBA, I realized that I wanted to continue my studies in international affairs, more specifically with counterterrorism, so I decided to move back to Israel and do another master's. It was a Master's of Arts degree, and it was in government focusing on counterterrorism. One thing that I learned throughout my studies was to network, take advantage of the conferences that would be held at your school, talk to your professors about how they started their careers, be speaking to other students of what types of job fairs and career fairs that they were going to, as I realized that throughout both my education at Lisbon and Wagner and in Israel, that it was really my peers that were help pushing me along. So once I returned back to the States in 2014, I took a job in New York City working at a nonprofit. I was there for 2 years. I was lucky enough again to travel both professionally and personally throughout the world, expanding my network. And then that also brought me down to the Virginia area. I was working for a government contractor for 2 years, and then I wanted to switch into the private sector, and I worked for Deloitte & Touche for 2 years. And then most notably, I worked for a project with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention out of Atlanta, Georgia. And I was traveling within Africa working on a healthcare initiative. It was at Deloitte that I started to realize, though, that I was not pursuing what I wanted to in life. And so I decided to take a job with a government contracting firm, and it was with the Department of State, but it was in the Bureau of Medical Services. And I really wasn't 100% sure that the administrative work and the coordinating of programs was what I wanted to do, but I realized I needed to get my foot in the door at the Department of State. And once I got my foot in the door at the Department of State, I started networking and taking advantage of all of the opportunities that came my way. And within 6 months, I was offered a position to become a government employee. So one of the questions that they asked me today was, am I pursuing my dreams? And I think I'm on my path. I've realized throughout the years that you take bits and pieces from each experience that you've had, both personally and professionally, and you carry it with you. One word of wisdom that I'd love to share with you guys to start off with is, while you're applying to all of these schools, make sure that you're dedicating as much time to the application as you are to looking into scholarships. I graduated and had a lot of debt, and I'm still paying it off today. I think it's really important to make sure that if you want to go to a 4-year private school, that you're really thinking down the road, how are you going to pay those loans off later? A second piece of advice that I'd love to offer you all is challenge yourself. Sometimes we all get very comfortable in the day-to-day and we get scared of what other people think of us or how we sound or how we're coming across. And at the end of the day, you need to challenge yourself because it's only you that's going to get you to the finish line, and it's only you that knows what you want out of a career and out of a personal life and out of this life that we have. My third piece of advice would also be to remember how you speak to people. Throughout my career, I've realized that being able to connect with people and take a step back and really think about where they're coming from and how I want to approach them has been very beneficial. I'll end with thanking you all for letting me be a part of your virtual career fair. Good luck with creating your lists of colleges of what is your hard to reach, your comfy, and your safe schools, because I remember sitting in Ms. Coleman's office doing that many years ago. And I'll leave you with one last piece of advice, is making sure that you guys stay true to yourselves and you keep pushing yourselves, and you're making sure that at the end of the day, when you go to bed, that you're making yourself happy and no one else.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Tyler, and I'm the head of English at Al Elson British and American International School in New Giza. New Giza is a suburb of Cairo, Egypt, and every day I get to see the pyramids on my way home from work. I did not plan to become an English teacher, but it has definitely been the right fit for me. When I first graduated from high school, I planned to major in hotel and restaurant management so I could travel the world. After a gap year or two working in the hospitality field, I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. And I found myself working towards an English degree, in part because it was always my favorite subject. Since becoming an English teacher, I have been able to fulfill my real dream, which is traveling. I worked for a number of years in New Hampshire as a high school teacher before moving internationally. I've lived in Abu Dhabi for 5 years and in Dubai for 2 years. And this is my 3rd year in Egypt. I've traveled to Turkey to visit the city of Troy, the library at Ephesus, and the city of Istanbul. I spent a spring break in South Africa touring elephant parks, camping at an ostrich farm, and driving the garden route from Kleinmond to Cape Town. I spent time in France touring museums, chateaus, and cathedrals. And my family's favorite trip was our holiday in London, where we met up with friends from Ireland, visited the Globe, rode the London Eye, and I took my oldest daughter to a rock concert at the O2. I've always wanted to travel the world, and being a teacher has allowed me to do that. I've learned a lot about cultures in different parts, and even how different Egypt is from other Arab countries. I've also learned how similar people are no matter where you go, and that a lot of the time, a smile and good manners will make life easier. The memories that my family and I are making and the pictures in our photo albums are so much richer than I ever imagined they'd be. And I never thought I would travel so far from Lisbon, New Hampshire. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Mike Heath. I'm the Quality Assurance Lead at QRS Calibrations in Fort Worth, Texas. I went to the University of Rhode Island, got my bachelor's degree in biomedical engineering, and this is my dog Stella. So as in the name of QRS Calibrations, we are a calibration company, and we have a couple different functions. Our main customers are the biomedical departments or clinical engineering departments at hospitals. We actually take their biomedical test equipment and we calibrate it to make sure it's within the manufacturer's specifications. Defibrillators, pacer analyzers.
So this is our Texas lab. So in here we have our in-process shelf. This is items waiting to be calibrated that customers have sent to us. In this cabinet we have some of our standards. Our workbenches are over here. And I'm going to show you a little example of a defibrillator analyzer. This is one that is used to test those defibrillators you see at the school, like on the wall, that's used in emergencies if someone passes out and their heart stops. So I'm gonna do my calibration on this and show you it really quick. So this is a LifePack 12. I'm going to use this, and what this is going to do, it's very similar to the ones you see on the wall, but basically it's going to send a shock to this device, and this device is supposed to tell me how much it is. So if I charge this, we're going to put it on 200 joules. Hit shock. There you go, it's 201.7.
So now that you've seen a little bit of what I do on the metrologist side and a lot of our other technicians that work here do, or metrologists, I also am the quality assurance lead, as I said before. So that part of the job is making sure that our quality system and our procedures and our training and the way we calibrate things and the way that we validate calibrating things is within compliance with standards. When I was in high school, I knew that I liked helping people and I liked engineering. From that passion, I realized biomedical engineering would be a really good fit for me. So that's when I decided to go to the University of Rhode Island. In my junior year, I got an internship because I made sure to follow up. That's one of the biggest things I could tell you guys is to make sure you follow up on job offers or job applications. Make sure you follow up a couple weeks after, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have got the job because they didn't even get my first application. So make sure you do that. From that first internship, it was kind of started my career because I left a really good impression with them on like my work ethic. And 99% of the time, if you get an internship in college and it's in the similar field what your degree's in, they're going to give you a job. They're going to offer you a job when you graduate. So that's actually what happened with me. They offered me a job. I took the job as a quality engineer. It wasn't exactly what I went to school for, but it was a good job and I learned a lot. It wasn't my favorite job in the world. I learned as much as I could and just absorbed everything like a sponge. After that, I ended up going to a different company, a pharmaceutical company called Novo Nordisk, and they have in West Lebanon, New Hampshire. Really good company. I definitely recommend working there if you get the chance. Worked there for a couple of years, got more quality experience, and then I came down to Texas and I started working at this company. So I get the best of both worlds right now. So I'm super happy about where I am. So if I had to give anyone any advice, what I wish I had in high school, or I did have that I didn't listen to that well, is to know that college. You don't always have to go to college to get the career that you're looking for, because there's lots of different trade jobs that are very interesting, and you get paid well, and you're also not crazy in debt and you have to pay back college, and it's insane how much college costs. The other thing I want to tell you guys is that you're only going to get as much out of of high school, college, work, when you get a real job, or just life in general, is by just how much you put into it. There's a lot you're going to have to learn on your own, because when you start your first company, you're going to think they're going to tell you everything, but your boss, your teacher, your leaders, they can only do so much, but you're going to have to learn a lot on your own, especially in college. Just work hard, and I wish you guys the best of luck. I appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope it helps, and don't be afraid to reach out to me if you have any questions or just need someone to talk to about careers or anything. Just let me know. Thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Alyssa Jellison and I'm a credit analyst at Yankee Farm Credit. I started on this path because I originally wanted to be a dairy farmer, and so I did an internship my senior year of high school at a local dairy farm, and I found out after working there for the internship and then for a few summers that I liked what I did and I liked agriculture, but I knew that being a dairy farmer was not something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I pursued a degree in agricultural business management, where I learned about the farm credit system, which is banks for farmers. I worked towards my degree, and in order to finish it, I had to do an internship. So I interned at Yankee Farm Credit here in New Hampshire and Vermont. In that winter of my senior year, I went back to work there for my break, where they offered me a part-time job so I could work remotely from school. From there, they offered me a full-time position where I started in May as a credit analyst. Some of the challenges that I've faced so far, it's working in a pandemic. That's something that no one saw coming, and I'm sure, as you guys know, there's a lot of challenges with that. Some things that I wish I had listened to more, or I did listen to in high school, take the running start classes. As much as you really don't want to in high school, they really do pay off. I was able to graduate a year early from college with 2 different degrees. I saved a ton of money, as well as time. All of your core classes are actually important. Most of what I do as a credit analyst is analyze numbers, but I also have to do quite a bit of writing, so you have to pay attention in all of your classes. Thanks, guys.
Hi, my name is Travis Aldrich. I'm the Director of Cybersecurity for a social media company, and I am an alumni of Lisbon Regional High School. I got into my career path after graduating from Lisbon through the United States Air Force. I joined the Air Force, fresh out of high school. I had about 2 months where I worked at the wire mill, doing some apprentice operations, and also working for my father, who's a welder and fabricator in the area. One of the biggest challenges that I had in high school was that I really didn't understand what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. As you may know, it's quite an undertaking to sit there and decide, okay, well, once I finish my senior year, I'm going to do X, Y, or Z for the rest of my life and be content with it. A lot of people divert from the path, and I was no different, except that it took me a little bit longer to decide. My sister was a police officer at the time, so I thought maybe I could do something similar in the military. The Air Force presented a different opportunity for me to where I could possibly work with canines, and I found the idea of that much more attractive. Once I got into the military, though, my job shifted quite rapidly from an intelligence analyst to a cybersecurity analyst because of the potential that the Air Force recognized in me and some of the tasks that I was doing. My first assignment was in the United Kingdom, so that was great to be able to get out into the world. And the cybersecurity aspect came in because we began to monitor emails and other telecommunications for the Air Force. And I wrote some programs teaching myself programming languages on the fly to better help us collect information. The Air Force noted that and put me into an up-and-coming field. We're talking late 90s, early 2000s in cyber defense, where we're combating, in some cases, nation-state actors and their attempts to glean information from the industrial and military complex. I had a lot of exciting, adventures as part of the Air Force, but once they stationed me back in Texas, I really fell into a groove in leading small teams doing defensive operations only. I probably would still be in the military to this day if it wasn't for some of the financial considerations. As your career progresses, much like being in high school, year to year, month to month, things change, and my interest did as well. And so I took a couple of consulting jobs around the San Antonio, Texas area. Really did a lot of travel those first couple of years that I was out of the Air Force, not even really returning back to New Hampshire much at all, but really learning a lot about various different businesses, because cybersecurity is really a part of every single function within society, with the internet being as prevalent as it is today. I've worked for the NFL. I've worked for numerous three-letter agencies over time, doing more, global traveling and roles. But I finally, got a real good opportunity in Houston, Texas with Shell Oil in the oil and gas industry, something I had no exposure to previously, in helping them stand up their cyber defense capability. And that really led me to where I am today, because those companies in oil and gas have such tremendous budgets. It really gave me opportunity to touch new technologies that I hadn't really seen in the past. And as I got out of high school, I realized that I did have, quite a thirst for knowledge if it was something that interests me. If it wasn't something that interests me, it was a real struggle for me to to pay attention, or at least to focus. And I'm sure some of the staff that is at Lisbon could attest to that know me. Many apologies to them. Looking back on things, especially in high school, I don't think that I was never given enough information to do things correctly or to be successful in life. It's just more whether I acted on those things that I was told or not. It's a really tough thing, being younger and thinking everything. I'm sure some of those teachers can attest. Some of the teachers that really positively impacted me, told me everything that I needed to know, whether it was through, coaching in sports or just day-to-day conversations, trying to get me to be more successful in the classroom. Teachers that are and were there at Lisbon, actually did heavily influence how I approach things and even problem solve today. Folks like Mr. Poor, Mr. Dotsky, Mr. Yunkins, Mr. McIntyre, the late Patty Lang, and then of course, especially Miss Coleman. I think some of her influence on equality and understanding, at a younger age as a counselor in the school, setting up things like the Cultural Diversity Committee for the school, something that we just never had at the time, were really key to success and growing me as a leader and having leadership ability. I think the most surprising thing about entering the corporate workforce was, companies tolerance for failure. It takes time to learn the business and to learn your tasks, no matter your role in the company. And the expectation out the gate is not that you're going to be perfect and you're going to be successful every single time. It's more that you're going to give everything that you can. It took me a few failures in a number of roles to really find my groove and my belonging and feel like I was contributing. So, that was a real shocker. The military is a little bit different because of the amount of training that you do. If anybody has any interest in cybersecurity, Ms. Coleman has all of my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me. Happy to discuss with you, your parents, or whomever.
I'm Skylar Booten, class of 2012. Currently, I'm a storekeeper, third-class petty officer in the United States Coast Guard. I left high school knowing I wanted to be a high school social studies teacher. I went to Plymouth State for 3 years studying social studies education, only to realize it wasn't for me. So I switched to political science and I never regretted it. Yes, it took 6 years to graduate college. And yes, what I thought my life's plan was is now gone. But I knew I needed to follow my passion. In 2016, which would have been the year I graduated college, I had the opportunity to run for the state legislature and was elected. During my term, my primary focus was funding for education and family medical leave. Having college debt and knowing life can get bumpy, I was doing what I believed was right. 2 years later, my term is ending and I'm finally about to graduate college. What was next? Where is my journey going? Well, there's one thing I always wanted to do, but I honestly did not think I could. I didn't think I'd be able to do it at all, and that's joining the Coast Guard. So I decided I'd regret more not doing it and wondering what if, than doing it and maybe I don't like it. Now, having been in the Coast Guard for over 2 years, it has been one of the greatest opportunities of a lifetime. After basic training, I ended up on the Coast Guard Cutter Shrike, which is a patrol boat protecting the New York Harbor, based out of Sandy Hook, New Jersey. Not many people can say they've slept on a ship right next to the Statue of Liberty. I was involved in escorting the United States naval ship Comfort into port to aid in the fight against COVID-19, as well as involved in almost 20 search and rescue cases, which ended up saving 12 lives. I couldn't have imagined my life going the way it did, and while I absolutely love the Coast Guard, it can take a toll. Some days would start at 2:30 in the morning, and you're not getting a break until 8 o'clock at night. There are days you're searching for a missing person, running on 4 hours of sleep, only to never find them. And it never gets easy gaining friendships, relationships with your crew members, only for everyone to transfer units. Because of the Coast Guard, I've gone cross-country, I've seen the Rockies, the Continental Divide, the birthplace of Ronald Reagan. Not many other careers will pay you to travel cross-country. I'm stationed at the United States Coast Guard Base Boston and comptroller, currently dealing with logistics of supply for Coast Guard units on the Northeast. I'm enjoying my time on land for a bit as well. I can actually get 8 hours of sleep. I do want to say, adulthood is complicated. It's about making daily decisions, some harder than others. My first job, I was shocked how a boss could be so disconnected from his workers. I got scolded daily. When I'd ask for a day off, I'd get a long speech. When he was mad at me, he would purposely schedule me to work on a night when I had a meeting. When he would do this, I would confront him and I'd tell him respectfully, I'm not going to be working. We had an agreement before I started that he would be sure I could attend my 2 meetings once a month, and I held him to that. Never let a person degrade you. Always be respectful, but also demand respect. No person on this earth has a right to make you feel you are lesser human than they are. So, did I follow my dream? Absolutely. Just not the one I originally thought it was. My advice to you is don't be worried if at 15, 16, 17 years old, you still don't know what you want to do. It's okay. Life's an adventure.
Hey, hey, my name is Anne, and I was an exchange student in Lisbon many years ago, 96, 97. That's 20 years ago. So I'm German, and my English is not the same good as the one of a native speaker, but I'll try. I have a lot of job titles, actually. The first job that I learned was to become a designer, graphic designer. After high school, I went to university for 4 years, and then I lived in this city of Berlin, Germany, and worked many years as a designer in a company, and then later as a freelance designer on the market. And it was something that really fulfilled me and something I wanted and something I went for. Then I met my lovely husband, who is from Japan, in Denmark on an art school, and fell in love. We started growing a family. So I'm also a mother of two beautiful children. So another job I have is being a mom and finding my role in being a mom. The last 7-8 years I've been doing a lot of yoga. So I went to India and I went in ashram a year ago. That took me further on this road, and now I started to go to university to become a yoga teacher. Yeah, there's just a lot of Annes or me's that I want to live. So I'll try to go for the things that I really feel passionate about. So one thing I would like to share with you or tell you is that I think it's really important you always follow what your inner voice is saying to you, what you feel like doing, and then go for it. I think that's the most important thing, and it can change throughout your life. There can be a lot of things, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, it's the being on this planet, and this life is a present, and I think it's worth figuring out who you are and yeah. Live this life. Be good and do good. Thank you.
So I am Airman First Class Carson Cruz. Recently got married of the United States Air Force. And I'm a water and fuels technician, which is kind of like a plumber. It's basically the same idea. I'm strictly in the water section of the career field because it's split up into 2 sections, fuels or water. So I do mainly like internal and external plumbing, and the other section works with fuel tanks and working on the flight line and all that jazz. When I was younger, I had this grand idea of joining the military, but it didn't originally take me down that road. At first, when I graduated high school, I went to Champlain College, which is in Burlington, Vermont. I was working on a bachelor's in graphic design. Was too expensive, dropped out, and then started going to Plymouth State. Dropped out of there too, and eventually wound up back where I am now with my original idea in mind. Those same influences that originally were like, hey, go to college, I just said, shut up, like, I'm not listening to you anymore. Like, I'm doing what I want to do, and if you don't like it, then tough mud. Like, it's my life. So what made me decide to do what I'm doing now is I was in a rut. I wasn't waking up feeling like I was doing anything great, or that my life was going anywhere great, or that I was around anything amazing. I kind of felt like I was like one trick pony at that point. I was just doing the same thing every single day. I'm not doing anything else, and I had no reason to put it off anymore, so why not? Why don't I just do what I want to do? So Miss Coleman could probably attest to this. I didn't really listen to advice too often, and sorry to disappoint, but I still really don't. Even though things tend to end up pretty rough, I always find myself finding things out the hard way, which isn't always a bad thing. Just that my thought process is that if I could either fail or succeed, it's a 50-50 chance. But if I don't at least try and figure it out at my own pace, then I'll never know if I did something great or if I completely screwed the pooch. Life can really go in which way direction. Like, a lot of what got me where I am today is the fact that life decided to throw me some curveballs. The advice that you're going to be given throughout your time in high school or when you're younger, sorry to say, it's not going to plan out that way. Not always. Unless you have some magic crystal ball, it's probably not going to end out exactly how you want it to. But advice that I would give, I guess, would be really truly sit down with yourself and be like, hey, what do I want to do? Because you're always going to have people at your back telling you that you're not good at something, or that you're too slow, or you're too fast, or you need to wait, or you're not waiting long enough. And you really need to look at yourself and be like, hey, what do I want to do? And honestly, any excuse not to do something is a bad excuse. If I had kept telling myself, well, if I wait a bit longer, things gonna work out, then I would have never joined the military. I never would have met my amazing husband. I never would have gone where my life is going right now, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. So honestly, think with your gut. What feels good will be good, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if it does, you know, at least you stuck through it and you committed to making it work, and that's that.
Currently, I'm employed as an outpatient and an inpatient therapist at Cottage Hospital. So what that means is I spend some of my time treating patients that come into the clinic to see me for their aches and pains. We give them exercises that, for the majority, make them feel better. There's also the inpatient side of physical therapy, which is when we go into the hospital and we work with patients that are currently critically ill. Some of them are in end-stage critical conditions, heart failure, lung failure, and our main goal is to get them up and get them moving and kind of improve their quality of life. So for the most part, I like doing the inpatient side of things more. That's just my personal opinion. And that's something, again, that I never thought would be the case. I always thought going into physical therapy, I was going to be all sports, all the time. But that goes to show that keeping your options open, learning new things, getting an idea for what's out there is kind of the most important thing. Keep your options open. And if you guys have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me. You can look up Cottage Hospital Rehab and give me a call.
Hi everyone, my name's Jillian and I'm the owner-operator of the Littleton Free House here in Littleton, New Hampshire. After I graduated from Lisbon Regional School in 2007, I really didn't know what I wanted to do career-wise. I ended up going to Plymouth State and getting a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration along with a minor in dance. Didn't really end up using the dance portion of my degree, but I enjoyed the classes nonetheless. However, when I graduated, I honestly still didn't exactly know what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Throughout high school and college, I always worked part-time in restaurants, but I never really thought of doing it forever. I wanted that Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 desk job with good benefits, weekends off. Then after college, I worked those kinds of jobs. I worked in banking, I worked in human resources, and I worked in sales actually for a number of years. What I realized was I hated sitting behind a desk for 8 hours a day working for someone else. It wasn't for me. Where have I actually really enjoyed working? And what I realized was it was my part-time restaurant jobs that I had always worked that I really was most passionate about. That was when I decided to open my own business with my father and start planning the Littleton Free House. It took about 2 years of planning, just straight planning, and then we have been open for about 2 years now, and we've been quite successful. Okay, so here we are in the Free House. This is where I'll work a lot of the time, getting food to bring out to all you lovely customers. And here's our dining room. I'll show you guys my office because I do spend a lot of time in there. And here we go. That's where I sit. Now I will say that as a business owner, I'm extremely thankful for my degree. I use the skills I learned in college every single day of my life, especially the accounting ones. They've probably been the most useful of all. But my advice for someone in high school that isn't quite sure of their career path or has no clue what they want to do with the rest of their life like I did is to just ask yourself, what do you really enjoy doing? What would make you happy to get up and go to work every day? I was so stuck in what I thought my life should look like with this Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job that I overlooked what really makes me happy. I love working for myself, and I love the flexibility that my schedule allows now. Some days I'm up on my feet, I'm in the kitchen, I'm in the dining room. Some days I am in the office, but having that variation in my workday and my work life is something that I really appreciate. There can be a lot of risk with owning your own business, but it's also extremely rewarding. All of the hard work and hours that I put in benefits myself, and there's a lot of personal satisfaction in that. I wish you all good luck on your future endeavors. I'm sure you're all going to do great things. Should you have any questions about the restaurant industry or starting up your own business, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You know where the free house is. Bye, everyone.